Please, can you explain the difference between the creation of Brahma and when the jiva enters in the body of Mahavishnu?
Can you say the question?
He said, can you explain the difference between the creation of Brahma?
At the time of creation of Brahma, where are the jivas?
At the time of the creation of Brahma. There are two types of Brahmas. One is Hiranyagarbha Brahma and one is Viraja Brahma. So the Hiranyagarbha Brahma, he resides in the Brahmalok. And the Viraja Brahma, the Hiranyagarbha Brahma is huge. And the universe is, the planetary systems and everything exist within his body. But then Lord Brahma himself comes into this universe and has, for example, Lord Brahma and the demigods went to the ocean of milk together and they prayed. So that is Viraja Brahma. That's another form of Brahma, which is a smaller, that occurs within the universe and goes here and there and interacts with the demigods. So, when Brahma is created, the first Brahma, the original prototype Brahma, he is Hiranyagarbha Brahma, and all the jivas are present within him. And this is why there's some confusion. That some people say, oh, the jiva's first birth in this world is as Lord Brahma. It's not that your first birth in this world is as Lord Brahma, because there's no first birth. That's the first thing. Because our karma is anadi, it has no beginning. But the meaning is that when the creation begins with the creation of Brahma, then all the living beings are within the body of the Hiranyagarbha Brahma. And they're injected there by the glance of Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu glances in the direction of the material energy but doesn't touch. And so in his glance, all the jivas come out from his glance. And the halo, that is the aura of his glance, is Kal Parush, Lord Shiva. And then Lord Shiva unites with Durga or Prakriti, and by the sexual union of Shiva and Shakti, then the jivas are like the sperm, in one sense, of Lord Shiva, and they're injected into the womb of Prakriti, into the material energy. And then when Lord Brahma is manifest, Hiranyagarbha Brahma, the jivas are in his body, and when Brahma does the secondary creation of making the bodies, then the jivas go into the bodies. So this is how they come from the glance of Mahavishnu to the Kalpurush Lord Shiva, into the Mahatattva or the Pradhan, and then into the body of Lord Brahma, and then into their individual bodies. Pradhan is before Prakriti, yes. Pradhan is also sometimes called Brahma. As well, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, I am the seed-giving father, and I put all the living entities in Brahma. And so, but this is referring to the form of, in his expansion as Lord Shiva, the jivas are injected into the covering of the primordial material energy. Another question? Wait. I'm looking. Bhagavati.
Just something small. You said Vishwamitra in Rigveda is mentioned. He spoke the...
He's the Rishi of the Gayatri Mantra in Rigveda.
So he spoke it to someone, or what does it mean? How he revealed it?
It means the mantra is eternal, but it was revealed to him. It was revealed to him. He was a mantra drasta, and then he has spoken it. And you see, whenever you use a mantra, then you have to respect the predominating deity of the mantra, the rishi who revealed it in the Vedas, and the chanda. So you see, when someone's doing a fire sacrifice or something, before they chant mantras, there's a Om Prajapati Vishnu Rishi Gayatri Chanda Shi Vishnu Devata, etc. Upanayane Viniyoga, and then they tell the mantra afterwards. So Deva, Rishi and Chanda, These things have to be, we have to get their mercy, and then you say the mantra. And this is why before Sutta Goswami spoke Srimad Bhagavatam, he said, Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim sarasvitim vyasam tato jayatu dirayat. Why? Because the Rishi of Bhagavatam is Vyas. So you have to honor Vyas. And the deity of Bhagavatam is Purushottama, Narottama, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And the place where the Bhagavatam was revealed to the Rishi Vyas was Badrikashram, Badrinarayan, the place of Badrinarayan. So because Naranarayan Rishi are the predominating deities of the place where this was revealed to the Rishi, so he's giving respect to that Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam. So the Shakti by which the mantra is revealed is the Saraswati. Here Shuddha Saraswati is Bhakti Devi herself. So Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. So Sutta Goswami, he's giving his respect to the ancient Vedic principle of not uttering any mantra without stating who is the Deva, the Rishi, the Chandra, the Chanda, the Shakti which reveals the mantra, and the Vinayog also. The Vinayog is the purpose of the mantra. So Tato Jayamu Dirayat. I will recite the Srimad Bhagavatam. What is it for? Jayam, for the purpose of crossing over the ocean of material existence and becoming victorious. And here Jai is also a name. Srimad Bhagavatam is also called Jai. So he said, Jai Udirayat. Before I speak Jai, before I speak Srimad Bhagavatam. Or Jai Udirayat means after paying obeisances, I will say Jai. So we bow down and we say Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. And then I'll speak Srimad Bhagavatam. So all these meanings are there, but it's very profound because even though the Bhagavatam itself is not Shruti, it's not Veda, it's the mature fruit of the Vedic literature. But the Rishis are giving respect to the Shruti, to the Vedic system, and he's saying, giving respect to all of these various components before speaking the Bhagavatam to impress upon us that the Bhagavatam itself is not less than the Vedas. And in truth is actually superior to all of the Vedas. Any other questions?
I would be interested to know that in a debate when two scholars come together in ancient times, what is the criteria to decide who won?
Oh, the Madhyastha. There was a person called Madhyastha. Literally means the one in the middle. The one who's situated sta in the madhya, in the middle, he'll decide. So always when there was a debate, there was an arbiter, like a referee, and he would propose who will speak, and then he may stop them if they've had enough time and give a chance to the other person to reply, and so on. And he would decide whether the reply was authentic or not. So and the rules of debate are actually part of Nyaya Shastra. And so that's one of the, as I said, that in Vedanta, there's something that we take from each of the classical philosophies, which is valuable. So the rules of what is an authentic argument, and what is a cheating argument, or spacious argument, or a straw man, or whatever, there are so many types, even in Western logic, there are so many types of logical fallacies and false arguments. So the Madhyastha would decide what is Nigrahastan. Nigrahastan means grounds for defeat. So it wasn't like decided by the masses who just showed up to be entertained. Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said once there was a village pandit, and he was very learned, but then his son, he didn't study, he wasn't very learned, and gradually after a few generations, the village pandit was more like a village idiot, and he didn't know Sanskrit or anything, but the villagers didn't know because they didn't know anything either. So he was just posing as a learned person who didn't know anything. So then what happened, one day a real pandit was traveling here and there, and he came to the village and challenged him to a debate. So they sat down, one sat here, one sat there, and all the villagers came. And so the local pandit, He said, I'll speak first. So then he said, Kastwam, Dastwam, Hastwam. Just, and the other pandit saw that he was just speaking nonsense. No grammar, nothing. So the other pandit, when he heard this, he just gave pranams and got up and walked away. And all the villagers said, Jai! Jai! Our pandit is the best. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to give this example to show that democracy or the opinion of the masses and the people actually cannot decide what is true and what is not true. So in the old days there would be a qualified madhyastha. Another question? Dave?
Where were the Pandavas when Balaram dragged the Hastinapur into the ocean? That's what I asked.
That was his question the other day. Well, obviously, they were not in Hastinapur, right? They were not living in Hastinapur at that time.
Yeah, because how they would...
So, Aristanasa Prabhu was proposing that perhaps they were in exile. Aristanasa proposed that. But that's not necessarily true, because what happened was, at first, there was some compromise between Duryodhana and the Pandavas, and he said, you can make your palace in Indraprastha, you know. So he gave them this place because it was a useless place, it was just a swamp. But when they got there, a miracle happened and it became most beautiful, and Maya Danava constructed a palace there that was so beautiful. Duryodhana, it was full of illusions, and you know, there was the embarrassment of Duryodhana when he came to Indraprastha. So it seems that they would have been in Indraprastha at that time. Is what I think, but I will have to look to make sure exactly, because I did mention that the chronology in Bhagavatam actually doesn't. The sequence, of the chapters doesn't follow chronology, so those things are not always clear. So I would have to make sure for certain. I would have to research that a little bit. If I find time, I'll do it. But I suspect they were ruling themselves in Indraprastha at that time.
But at least they were not in Hastinapur, because
Yeah.
how they would have allowed this situation to happen.
Of course, and Balaram would not have done it also to them. So, another question? Yes, Krishna Lila.
Just part of Raganuga Bhakti Sadhana is not have Dvaraka Dhyan. So I just wondered, many of the Leelas of Balaram actually refers to Dvaraka Lila.
And Krishna also.
And Krishna Lila, yes. But so what does it mean when he's reading and when he's hearing so much about Dvaraka Krishna and Dwarkadish and...
So, Krishna Lila is raising this important point. Shravanut kirtanadini vaidi bhaktuditani tu tanyanyani tanyatra vigyani manishibihi. Srila Rupa Goswami said that those who are on the path of Raganuga Bhakti, they also observe all the angas of Vaidhi Bhakti. Mainly. Only a few things should be neglected, which are the practical, unfavorable for the cultivation of the mood of Braja. So what are they? When you do puja, when you serve the deities, in Ragamarg it's not puja, it's seva. So it's a seva, it's very natural, loving expression. And so don't use mudras. You know, in Vaidhi Bhakti there are so many mudras. When you're serving your deities in Ragamarg, you don't use mudras. You don't do the anganyas. That means touch parts of your body and install the deity of Krishna in each part of your body. So mudras and anganyas you don't do. There are other things, like one of them is Dwarka Dhyan, meditation on Dwarka. Now this very question that you're posing, I actually directly asked Gurudev. So I'm very sure of the answer to this question. Unlike the question about Hastinapur. So, because you can find in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Antilila, towards the end of Mahaprabhu's pastimes, when he's in the Gambhira and his bhav is very high, there it's mentioned that Mahaprabhu was relishing the 10 verses describing the prema vaichitya of the Mahishis. Now, Mahaprabhu's Krishna himself, he came to this world in order to teach us how to practice bhakti by his own example. So I said to Gurudev, if Mahaprabhu taught us how to practice Raganuga bhakti by his own example, why is it when his bhav is so high in the end of his lila, in the Gambhira, he's relishing the verses which describe Prem by Chitra, that is the feelings of separation of the queens of Dwarka when they're meeting with Krishna but their love is so high they feel separation from him. So he said, first of all, it's not that we don't hear whatever, what is it? Let's see, 39, 51. It's not that we don't hear the 51 chapters of the 10th canto that deal with Mathura and Dwarka. We do. And we see that Rupa Goswami in his Lalit Madhav, most of Lalit Madhav is based in Dwarka. But it's a particular vision of Dwarka from the eyes of, through the eyes of the mood of Braja. So, Gurudev said, what it means is, you should not accept Rukmini and Satyabhama as your Aradhyata, as your objects of worship. But you can hear about that Leela because it's the thing of Srimad Bhagavatam is rejected. And the fruit of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, Parikshit Maharaj heard Srimad Bhagavatam and the result, Gopi Bhav Praptaha, he attained Gopi Bhav. And indeed, Jiva Goswami said that the long explanation of Mathura Lila and Dwarka Lila actually intensifies the Madhurya Rasa of the devotee. Why? Because when Prem, when love becomes infused with intense utkanta, anxiety, it becomes calm. Madhurya Rasa, the Gopis Bhav. So after the description of the Braj Leela, Krishna leaves and the devotee is waiting. What will happen next? When will he come back? And he's turning the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. One chapter, another chapter goes like 51 chapters. And still he doesn't come back. And the devotee is feeling great anxiety. And therefore, then his praying becomes infused with utkanta, anxiety. And he attains perfection of Madhurya Rasa. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is presented in such a way that one can attain the mood of Braj Gopis, and especially the service of Srimati Radhika, if it's heard from a person, qualified person. So Srila Gurudev said that you don't do Dwarka Dhyan is that your Aradhyata, your worshipful deity is Radha and Krishna. Don't accept Krishna and Rukmini or Krishna and Satyabhama as your Aradhyata. Then everything will be spoiled. And he said Mahaprabhu was meditating on the verses of the Mahishis in Prem Vaichitya as with Tulyatmak Bhav. Gurudev's exact words were Tulyatmak Bhav. And that means, by comparison, if the love of the Mahishis, the queens of Dwarka, is this intense, and they experience Prem Vaichitya, then how much more intense is the Prem Vaichitya of the Gopis of Vrindavan? In that way. So we should reconcile in that way.
Yes, let me ask you a thing. When you're putting tilak, you're actually touching the different parts of it.
Yeah, you just touch the tilak and say the name of Krishna associated with that tilak, and remember that name of Krishna and that meaning of Krishna. But don't invite it back to you actually touching and doing the installation of the deity in that part of your body. So we don't do Anganyas, we just put the tilak on and touch and chant the holy name. For us it's kirtan, not Anganyas. Yes.
With the subtle body, Mama, Guru said that the desires don't come from the mind. The desire comes from the soul. So
No. No.
That when I desire.
When did I say that?
In Shradana, when we had this small speaking.
Okay, continue with the question.
What is then the function of the mind? For what do I need the mind?
You can read the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapil Dev's explanation of creation. So there, obviously he goes through all the elements. So one of the elements is a chitta, one of the elements is ahankar, one is the buddhi and one is manas. And the characteristic functions or the lakshan, the symptoms by which each element can be recognized are described there in detail. So the business of the mind is calm, desire, and sankalpa vikalpa, accepting and rejecting. The functions of the intelligence are the ascertaining what an object is, that is a nishtay, ascertainment of an object, recognizing a dravya. And that's important to know that the buddhi can only identify a dravya, gross elements. It cannot understand anything more subtle than that. And also doubt, nishchay, sangshay, doubt, vikalpa, imagination, smriti, memory, and nidra, sleep. So these are the functions of buddhi. And ahankara gives the sense of kartritva, the sense that I am the doer. So in this way we understand the functions of manas, buddhi and ahankara.
But you say that the mind is inert, it cannot desire.
Of course.
How can
The jiva wants to enjoy the material energy. But the individual acceptance and rejection of different objects within the material energy is done by the mind. You see? But the jiva, because of ahankar, the jiva identifies with his mind. So when, due to a past sanskar, let's say that in a previous life a dog bit you, right? So then in this life, someone says, do you want a dog? You say, no. Because you have an impression from a past life that you don't like dogs. So you say, I want something or I don't want something. But this is not coming from your soul. Your soul is only identifying with the ego, and the ego is a condensed mass of past sanskars. And these sanskars manifest into the conscious mind as acceptance and rejection. Like that.
But then the accepting of a spiritual path, or accepting guru, how we know it's not coming from the mind and it's coming from the soul?
It's not. It's coming from the Sukriti. If you have some Sukriti from Brahmanda Brahmati Koinda Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai Bhakti Latadis, if you have some Sukriti from your last life, it will lead you into Sangha. And that piety in that Sangha will also affect how you surrender or don't surrender or partially surrender and so on, until slowly you become purified from the gunas. And when you come to Sattva Gun, then you have vivek, discrimination. And then really the soul's own icha, the soul's own will can assert itself, because it's no longer bewildered by ego. But as long as we're bewildered by ego, we're very much controlled by the acquired swabhav.
And so what does the Bata Jiva do? If everything is done by the mind, and if it's identifying himself with the ahankar and through the mind...
He's holding on to the mind. Krishna said, Mana shastani indriyani prakriti stani karshati. Mamaivang so jiva bhuta sanata. The living entities in this world, Krishna said, they are my eternal parts. And they are drawing towards themselves by their will the 6 senses. That means 5 senses plus the mind. So just as a magnet draws iron towards itself, the soul, by his desire to enjoy the material energy, Purusha prakriti stohi bhukte prakriti jan gunan. The Purush, who's situated in Prakriti, desires to enjoy the gunas. So by his desire, he draws the indriya, the senses, towards himself, and then through the instruments of the senses, then everything goes on. So that's the function of the desire of the soul. But then the individual details of that desire are dictated by his swabhav. Anyone? Question? Aristanasan Prabhu.
Small technical question. When on the Gayatri we meditate on Bhu, Bhuva, Swa, the three planetary systems, that means it is the whole universe.
Yes, by Upalakshan, it means the whole universe. For example, if I say to you, oh, everyone, please raise your hand. Raise your hand. Okay? Did you all follow my instruction? No, none of you followed my instruction. Because you would have gone like this and raised your hand. But instead you raised your whole arm. So you did not take the abhidabriti, the direct meaning of my words. But you rejected the abhidabriti, the direct dictionary meaning of my words, and you went for the gona, secondary meaning, upalakshan. That's a lakshana briti. You took what was associated with the hand. So when I said raise your hand, you raised the hand and the whole arm as well. So this is lakshan briti or upalakshan. So when 3 planetary systems are mentioned, it implies all 14 planetary systems.
So that means Bhu means starting from the Sutal Patal, from Patala to Bhu, to the earth.
Bhur means Bhur. And Bhuva means Bhuva and Swa means Swa. But these are 3 levels. It's just implied that 14 levels are there. The whole universe. These are called the Mahavyaritis. Mystical syllables which are uttered before a mantra. They're called Mahavyariti. And it only indicates that the Supreme Lord is his energy is everywhere. Okay, but if there's any very pressing question. Yes? No, we can.
I'm just curious about...
You can be humble later, but now ask a question.
Just curious about why there would be, for example, like Rukmini Dwarkadish deities if we're not supposed to worship Rukmini.
Rukmini Dwarkadish deities where?
Los Angeles temple?
Yeah. So actually, it was the devotee's idea. When Srila Prabhupada bought the deities and installed them, you can hear there's a recording of Prabhupada doing the installation, and he says, here is Radha and Krishna. But the devotees, because at that time they didn't know Rasa Tattva, they thought, Dwarka is more opulent than Vrindavan. So let's call this place New Dwarka. And the devotees came up with this and started calling them Rukmini Dwarkadish. They're standing there, Krishna is playing a flute. Krishna doesn't play a flute for Rukmini. He doesn't even have a flute in Dwarka. So you can see Prabhupada called them Radha Krishna, and the devotees went with Rukmini Dwarka. You see, when Srila Prabhupada was starting the movement, he was one person and thousands of people were coming. And most of the people were learning by hearing from others, from the senior devotees. That means the ones who joined 1 week before you, right? So a lot of things were spreading like wildfire by the power of Srila Prabhupada's mercy, but the details weren't always exactly intact. And so Srila Prabhupada, he used to do things and something was gone, and he would let it go if it wasn't something serious, and he would see that he himself would gradually refine the conception, or in the future another Vaishnava will come along and refine the conception from there, like that. So there are many things like that. If you see the standard of puja, deity worship in the beginning of ISKCON, it was like one thing, and then gradually then it became more complex, and then they made a department of the GBC in charge of research and devotees went to all the Gaudiya mats and did research, and then they brought out an official book. What was that called? Was that some Dipika? Or maybe it was also called Archan Dipika. Remember when it first came out in 2 or 3 volumes with the orange cover? Right? Produced by the GBC department of whatever, worship research or something. Yeah, Krishna section and all that. So we see that there were particular standards, and gradually everything was refined. Just like another thing, our devotees, I just said I was just there in Rome. So when we do Jai Dwani, Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandhava, and everyone bows down on the ground. Actually, Srila Prabhupada never told anyone to do that. And in the Gaudiya mat, when you do Jai Dwani, you just stand up with folded hands and look at the deity. It's a lovely time to say Jai and have darshan of the deity. And then at the end, then all glories to assembled devotees, then you can bow down and give pranam at the end. But Srila Prabhupada in the beginning, when he started saying Jai, Shishi Guru Guranga and everything, and Ajam Vishnu Nityalila Pravishta, like that. All the devotees bowed down, and it just became a habit. So I told our devotees recently at our Chaitanya Academy in Rome, during the Jai Dwani, just stand up with folded hands and look at the deity with reverence and give Jai to everyone. You can bow down at the end. Otherwise, we look like we're doing Ramadan. Right? And all the new devotees, new people who come and they see everyone,
On the floor.
all these posteriors in the air and everyone bowing down and the room's packed, they think, what is this? They think they've gone to Makkah. So, first of all, it's not necessary, and Srila Prabhupada never intended it, and in the Gaudiya Math it's not like that. And for the sake of preaching, for making an impression which is not offensive to the general people, I think it's fine. Everyone just stand up and pray and give Jai 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 at the end and bow down like that. It is my suggestion for our devotees. You don't have to follow it. It's my suggestion. Yes, Prabhu. So that was just and I was just illustrating the point that devotees did stuff of their own inspiration, and it just became the habit, or it became the social norm. You know. Yes.
The chitta has a mass of samskars on it, and the gunas, they come and they raise a desire, and then the mind accepts or rejects.
No, the mind is accepting and rejecting the external objects on the basis of the past sanskar. It's not accepting or rejecting the samskar.
Yeah.
When a person becomes a little bit free from false ego, when sattva gun is more prominent, then when the desires come into the mind, the impressions come into the mind, then you can accept or reject the desire. Rather than you see, the person who's covered by rajas, when he sees an object, the sanskar comes and tells him whether to accept and reject it, and he thinks that's my decision. But when sattva gun arises, and with that there's vivek or gyan, discrimination, then not only do you accept or reject the outer things on the basis of shastra, but you accept or reject the samskars which are appearing in your conscious mind. So Krishna describes that in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Apuryamanam marchalam pratistam samudravapa pravisanti yadvat tadvat kamayam pravisanti sarve sasanti mapnoti na kamakami. Just as all rivers flow into the ocean, but the ocean remains unchanged, so similarly, the devotee into whose mind desires appear, but he doesn't act upon them, he can attain peace, not the person who follows the awakened, triggered sanskars. You see? Like that. So, as long as ego is there and you identify with the mind, then your sanskars are making your decisions related to the outer world. And when your vivek comes, then you make decisions according to the instruction of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, and you also accept or reject the samskars, your own samskars which are appearing according to Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Now, the soul is actually asserting its will. And before that, you cannot assert the will because the will has become subsumed. It's become covered. It's become eclipsed by the darkness of ignorance. That is avidya.
My question was...
Is chitta also a subtle body?
Yes. It's mahatattva. Chitta is mahatattva.
My question was that initially, for those samskars to come in the chitta, the jiva must have desired which guna he wants to associate with. Right? So the jiva, he is desiring which guna he wants to associate.
No. Only the fault of the jiva is that he is vimukh. He is indifferent to Krishna, and now he is covered by the gunas. And one guna will inevitably lead to another. Because if you try to stay in sattva gun, but you can't really. Because there's always some contamination. So a mistake will come and you'll go down to rajas, then you'll go down to tamas, and then you'll suffer and you'll float up again. So the living beings are going, that's why it's called the samsara chakra. They're going round and round and round. And if you say, well, he must have initially wanted to associate with one guna or another, now you're superimposing a temporal idea onto a reality which is actually anadi. It has no beginning. So there's no initial well, which guna shall I enjoy first? It's like that never happened, because it's anadi.
But like, once a person, like right now, if one person has claimed to chitta, he's Shuddha Chitta, and now again he does some aparad, and
his aparad will force him to enjoy whatever it is, whatever the appropriate reaction is for that. It's not when we undergo the reactions of our aparad, it's not a choice. That's the real problem about the reactions of aparad. One is forced. One's face is just forced into the mud.
So Jiva never desires.
Jiva's always desiring.
But never decides.
He's always desiring. But he's covered by avidya, and whatever samskars are coming up, either by karma or by reaction to aparad, that's going on. And when he becomes a sattvic and his discrimination comes, he can assert his will. Okay, so we'll finish there. Gaur Premanande!